Because on the front page of the Daily Nation, it says this raises concern with regard to the country's security preparedness. Does it worry you?
Yes, of course it does worry me, because in this country we've faced the ravages of terror and terrorist attacks for quite a while. It also worries us because of the economic impact in terms of scaring off tourists and things like that. But also at the same time, we must not forget how far we've come as a country. Yes, we've seen a recent spike in the kind of violence that terrorists do, especially in our frontier counties. But let's not forget that we are not seeing as many attacks as we used to 10 years ago. So I think for us is to call on the security agencies to step up what they have been doing so successfully for a number of years and do it better and stronger. And even then, we also need to consider the status of our military and police officers in the frontier. Make sure they have the equipment, they have the support that they need to be able to do their jobs, because that's another issue that the security forces are complaining that they're not receiving the kind of assistance and support that they do need. So that's the other thing that needs to happen.
All right, your thoughts, Arnold?
Definitely this is worrying, because we actually had managed to stem the attacks, and almost looked like we'd gained normalcy, even though the threat has always been present, and we knew that somewhere, someplace, there were sleeper cells, and of course in Somalia, our soldiers were still at it. But now, with the attacks coming on our own soil, and the frequency actually a little bit worrying. Of course, definitely you want to ask where next, and then of course everybody has to get worried. So the first thing, of course, is that it's 8 months since we had a new administration. Ordinarily, there is the readjustment from what was then and up to now. I think we need to go back and look at probably what we've done that is allowing these particular attacks, how we'd worked so well to ensure that this doesn't happen. Secondly, what could be the reaction from the political end of it, because you realize that somehow we have forgotten that we had this threat with us. We are busy politicking. As a country, we are busy and everything else. And historically, Al-Shabaab has taken advantage of a new regime. If you look at the last attacks we've had, some of them horrifying, they actually happened within a window when we had a changeover, and we were busy with matters on the home front. So we should always remember that the state is an institution. It's always there. Governments can change, but the state, which is at war with Al-Shabaab, is continuous, and that the targets don't change just because government has changed. It's important to also ask questions. You know, the nature of attacks around here, especially on hardened or strategic targets like military movements and everything else, we need to start asking questions. Who is sharing A1 type of intelligence with these guys? Because so many people would pass on a road, but all of a sudden only a military truck is blown up. You don't want to tell me that is by coincidence? It can't be that somehow somebody knows. There is a well-coordinated way of doing things. So are we sharing intelligence with sympathizers? Have we allowed people who should not be allowed in spaces that they are in? What exactly are we doing that is allowing this? But over and above everybody else, unfortunately, I'll have to quote President Uhuru Kenyatta. He says that security begins with you. Even as government does that, let us also be cautious. Let us also, because somebody will see. Somebody knows something, somebody has heard something. As government does its bit, let's also do our bit and ensure that we are safe as a nation. Because unfortunately, if the nation is not safe, even the individual is not.
Why unfortunately? You said unfortunately. I have to quote former President.
Because we shouldn't, as in looking back, ordinarily all of us want to assume that the government is going to take care of us, and that we need to sleep pretty and safe without necessarily worrying, because we have got a government in place. But then the president reminded us then. People didn't like the quote then. That's why I actually said, unfortunately, I'll have to go back to it. That security begins with you as an individual. So even as we wait upon government, it's important to remember that there is no, for the enemy, there is no difference between the individual, the nationality, the state, and the government. We are one and the same.